Good morning, friends. Miss Kitty here. Today we're going to be making sourdough bread. Before we start, I want to let you know that I got up this morning about 8:30. I fed my starter. My starter's like 5 years old, and it's in my oven with the light on, keeping it warm. Anyhow, I wanted to show you this before we get started. This book, it was my mother's. Anyhow, I want to show you something. I'm going to get up here. Guys, look at this. This is homemade bread, okay? Homemade bread, approximately 24 cups of flour. It just, that dumbfounds me. I don't think I have 24 cups of flour sitting around right now. I have it milled, but even in a bag, I don't have 24 cups of flour. This is how my mother baked because there was a lot of us kids. And I remember she had pans of bread sitting everywhere raising. And I remember when she'd bake, we'd get out the school bus, you could smell that bread all over the neighborhood. Anyhow, this is what I want you to see. It says, sourdough brings adventure to camp kitchens. And it's all about sourdough and some of the history on it. And this is what actually kind of pushed me into doing this. I come across this in my mother's, and I thought, you know what? If it was that important for her to cut that article out, then it's probably something that would be important to me if I just give it a try. And, you know, I have no regrets. I love to bake sourdough. And if my mother was here, I'd tell her how much I appreciated her taking time to cut this article out and put in this book. Anyhow, I gotta put my glasses on because I can't see up real close. I'm going to read you some of this history on the sourdough. Now it says, they call them sourdoughs, those tough as gristle, enduring men and women who pioneered exploration and settlements across the northern tier of the United States. Loners for the most part, they cut, scratched, or dug a living from the wilds of North America and some of the most inhospitable lands of the earth. There were trappers, miners, lumberjacks, and homesteaders. Those that survived the rugged existence owed it to hard work, determination, and in more instances than a few, to sourdough. It was due to the area of the world they chose to make their stand and the style of their cooking that the term sourdough was applied to the special breed of rugged outdoorsmen. Sourdough starters were as important to the early pioneers as the axe and plow. Without it, camp cooks were lost for making bread, cake, and other foods that required a leavening agent to make the dough rise, which really makes sense back in them days. You know, you couldn't just run to the store and buy yeast or anything. The much-prized starters traveled on wagons by horseback and sometimes even by people on foot, always closely guarded against spillage, even theft. Many of these starters originated in Eastern Europe, where bread baked daily was considered the staff of life. While the use of sourdough in baking was common in North America until the latter part of the 19th century, it was the gold rushes in the West and Alaska that really set the stage for bringing this superb bacon ingredient into social prominence. Early adventurers survived on bakings created with sourdough. No hunter, prospector, lumberjack, or pioneer family took to the trail without a starter. Stored in a crock or wooden keg and zealously guarded from harm along the way. Many folks in the backwoods who were snowed in for the winter survived in fine condition on a diet of beans and fried sourdough pancakes. Of course, the starter had to be kept going at all costs under these extreme conditions. In fact, it was a common practice for the cooks to take the starter keg to bed on bitter nights in order to keep the yeast bugs cozy. Say what? We are going to check that starter again and see how it's doing. And it is looking pretty good. I think I'll let it go just a little longer. So I've added 1.5 cups of warm tap water to the bowl. You don't want hot. You'll kill the organisms in your starter. And I'm adding 1 heaping tablespoon of salt. You're going to want to go ahead and mix that in good. Incorporate that salt through there. And then you're going to want to add 1 cup of your starter. Now, if your starter is good and active, it should float when you put it into the 1.5 cups of warm water. And so now you can see that it is floating. So that's a good starter. And we're just going to stir this in. I want that salt mixed in too. Okay, now we're going to add our flour. And we want 3 cups. So let me get my flour. Just gonna level it off. There's 1. Now listen, depending on the feel of it, I might be adding a little more. 2. Now I might be adding more than 3 cups. It depends on the flour. We want a nice, you don't want to mix that, mix it. We want a nice kind of a raggedy dough. A little more, kind of a drier dough. There's 3. And I will be able to tell you in a minute if that's going to do. Still feels kind of loose. Yeah. I think we're going to have to add a little more. I'm showing you right now what it's. Now listen, if you have to add more, because see, it's too loose and sticky. Just use a little at a time. And that was probably 1/8 of a cup. It just seems to need more at this point. So I might be up to a quarter cup, maybe. A little more. So I've had to add like 3¼ cups to get this, and I might add just a little more because, like I said, once you start your stretch and pulls, where you stretch the dough and pull it over, it's going to loosen up more. So I'm going to add just a little more. I just want it kind of a little bit drier so it'll hold good. Not over dry, but you know, kind of a drier. Let's see how that feels. I still think I just a touch more. You will be able to tell though. You can see this dough. It's just kind of, it's a little raggedy, kind of dry. And that's what you're wanting. I'm going to get some of that off the bottom. Don't mix it. Don't start, kneading it and everything. Just kind of mix that dough in a little. There. Now, I'm just going to cover that. Let me wash my hands. I like to wet like a tea towel, or if you have a light towel. I like to wet it. I'll double this because it's a bigger one. And just put that over your dough. We'll leave this set about 40 minutes, and when I come back, I'll show you how to do stretch and folds. We'll start those. Okay, so now all we're going to want to do, I hope you can see this, we're going to reach in, get some of this dough, and we're going to pull it, flop it over. Better to wet your hands. I forgot. Just wet your hands a little bit. Reach down, pull that dough up, and fold it over. Reach in, pull it up, fold it over. And you'll want to do this until you don't want to tear your dough, but do this a few times, probably 4, maybe 5. How many? See, there's not a lot of give now, so you want to be really careful. So now we're just going to cover it back up and let it set 30 minutes. And we're going to do probably 4 or 5 of these stretch and folds. So go ahead and cover your dough and let it set. Okay, we are back for our second stretch and fold. Wet our hands. I don't want to forget that. Reach in. Make sure you can see this. We're going to stretch it, and you'll find it's a little bit more, it has a little more give to it. We are going to do stretch and folds until I like to do like, there's not quite as much there. See how it's, I'm getting more resistance now. So just don't pull it to it rips. It's got a lot of a resistance. So now this is the second one. So we're just going to cover this up, and we'll be back in another 30 minutes. Okay, this is 34th. Just pull it away. Here we go. And look at how stretchy that's getting, guys. Beautiful. Look at that dough, how beautiful. It's just very nice. Oh, here we go. A little more resistance. See how it won't stretch now? So now we're just going to take our dough, leave it in the bowl, and we're going to put it in a warm place to rise until it's doubled in size. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flour our counter lightly. You don't want a whole bunch of flour. And I'm going to put this dough out on it, and what I'm going to do is push it and pull it so it creates tension, and make a nice round ball. Sprinkle of flour. And now I'm just going to turn this right out onto there. And it's a little sticky, but okay. What you want to do, just want to make a square if you can. Get it stretched out some. Look at how nice that is, guys. And we're just going to fold it over again. And we're going to start just kind of pulling. Push a little more flour here. Pull. Pull. Just work the dough gently. Just give it easy pushes one way and pulls the next. And that will create the tension, and it'll tighten that up into a ball. Now, if you have to, you can put a little flour on your hands if your hands are sticking to the dough. Okay, I've got my banneton basket floured. If you don't have a banneton basket with a covering, you can just use a bowl and then put some kind of a towel, like a linen or something in it, tea towel, and then you're going to want to flour it. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to scoop her up and plop it right in there. And this looks pretty good, so I'm just going to leave it. And I'm going to slip it right in this food safety bag I have. We got our twisty tie. I'm just going to twisty it. It's going to go into the fridge overnight. And it's going to be in there probably 12, 14 hours. Well, good morning, friends. Next day, I left my dough in the fridge all night in the bag covered. And this morning I've got up, I've heated my oven up. You want to set your oven. Mine runs a little hot. You might have to play around with your temperature first few times of baking to find out what your oven is good with. Anyhow, so we got that preheating, and I have my Dutch oven. I'm going to get ready to put the bread in. And then what you're going to want to do is get your Dutch oven and preheat this in the oven at 425 for about 10 to 15 minutes. I usually go about 15, unless I'm in a hurry, but try to get it in about 15 minutes. Got our really super duper oven that's on. We don't want to get burnt like I sometimes do. Okay, we're going to let this go for 15 minutes. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and store our sourdough bread. All right, I took this out of the bag. We are going to gently turn this over onto the parchment paper. And gently lift it off. Now you can cut a nice slit across it, maybe going 1/4 inch deep, and this will lift and allow it so that your bread doesn't break open. It'll be a nice clean cut. Or if you're like me, you like things a little fancier. And all we're going to do is going to give this a little bit more flour on top. And then you just start your scoring, which if, you don't have to get fancy. You can do wheat. So today I'll just do something a little simpler just to show you. I'm using this little cutter, which they do sell them online, sourdough, where you can score. This one I want just a little deeper. And then I'm just gonna, here, I'm gonna make it, I think I'll go this way with them. Just cut these little slits in here. And the same on this side. And this will split. This will keep this from just busting open. And then over here, I don't know. Let's see, what can we make? How about we do some coming up this way? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll put a few little. We'll do this side first because you want to get this into the oven as soon as you can. And then, let me see, get over here. And don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. You can do anything you want. This is just simple wheat pattern. Okay, let me see. We got 4 over there. This is sticking out a little. That's okay though. We'll put 1 here, 1 here. Trying to make it so you guys can see. And you guys can play around with this. I'll do a really fancy one later on, but right now I got a busy day, so and I have my grandkids coming. Okay, so after 15 minutes, go ahead and take your pan out, your pot. Anything you could use probably with the lid, as long as it's heavy, you know. Even just a regular cast iron Dutch oven, something big enough with the lid. We're going to get this out. And I hope you can see this. We're just going to set this gently. Right? Be careful not to get burnt, as these are very hot. And I'll show you, ouch, what that looks like. Okay. So we're just going to stick this right into the oven. You get the lid on. I'm going to leave that in there at 425 for about 15 to 18 minutes. And then I'm going to take the lid off and let it go another 25 minutes. And it should be done. Our bread has been in like 15 minutes, maybe a little longer, because my daughter comes, and she's got the phone recording. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and see all this dead. All right. Wow, isn't that pretty? This is what it looks like. Now we're going to go ahead and pop it back into the oven for another probably 25 minutes. Isn't that beautiful? Now, well, I got my daughter here. Where's some t-shirts? Hold on. She got me a couple t-shirts. Thank you, Heidi. This is just, oh, I'm so excited. It says, support your local farmer. Is that not cute? I love that. How adorable. And she got me another one. I love this too. Meet me at the farm market. And usually that's where we go on Saturdays. So if you're in Hale, there's a farm market up here where they sell stuff. It probably won't be going too much longer, a few weeks, I don't know. But how adorable. October? Okay. Anyhow, we're going to give this about 25 more minutes, and then we'll take it out of the oven, guys. Oh my gosh, guys, look at this bread. Now that just looks good enough to eat. And it's just a little bit hot. Oh goodness, it's kind of like unwrapping a gift at Christmas time. That beautiful loaf of bread. So good. Yum. Well, my friends, I hope you've enjoyed today's video on baking sourdough, and I hope you can join me in my future videos. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you soon. Bye.